So I wanted to make this video because Zenhang Baby Lunae has been a character ever since his release, has been performing really well. He is a different element from Fu Xuan, which as you all know, Quantum is pretty much the dark element of this game. And Imaginary is pretty much the light element, so I thought why not have a light versus dark video, going over who you should pull, save for, or skip, maybe both. Quantum allows you to delay the enemy's action and deal additional damage depending on the amount of hits you get on the enemy before that enemy takes their turn. That is the weakness break effect, of course. And a character like Seal works really well with that weakness break because she generally increases her own speed and utilizes characters that can also either increase her speed or give her action forward, such as Bronya. So she's going to get more hits in on the enemy. That coupled with her resurgence, meaning she gets an additional turn when she kills an enemy, she's going to be constantly breaking toughness bars and doing massive amounts of damage. So as I said before, Seal increases her own speed, and as you all know, speed tuning is one of the hardest things to do in Honkai Star Rail for free to play and low spinners, because it takes a lot of RNG to get speed rolls. It is the lowest stat you can get on any piece of gear, and it is the hardest stat to roll in the game. Seal and Jeopard have been two characters that has been really hard for me to use with one another. As you all know, Seal increases her own base speed, which makes it to where she wants a character that is much faster than her to take more turns. So you need a character with tons of speed, and if you don't have a Jeopard with much speed, because I mean, let's be honest, 92 base speed, he's competing with some of the lowest base speeds in the game. It's going to be really hard getting an extremely fast Jeopard to keep up with your Seal. So there isn't really much synergy between these two characters other than the fact that Jeopard has increased aggro as a preservation defensive option character, and Seal has decreased aggro when you have her 50% HP or lower. So right now, you want another character to match the same element as the character you're using the most in the team comp. And as you all know, that's pretty much how the game works. Your goal is to break the toughness of the enemy to proc those weakness break effects. So having a defensive option that is the same element as Seal would be very nice. And Fu Xuan is that character. She is a preservation defensive option. She has damage mitigation, which is very nice for a character like Seal. And if you take into consideration, even if Seal increases her own speed, Fu Xuan will still decrease the damage that Seal takes and soak up most of that damage, making her the best defensive option you can have for this character. So when you have Silverwolf, a character that makes mono quantum comp work anywhere you go in the game, all types of content, every single bit of PvE in the game, well, I mean, it is a full PvE game. I don't even know why I said that. Silverwolf is a character that enhances the whole team's performance. She's also a character that works pretty well with Seal. Defense Shred, Resistance Shred is all you could ask for a damage dealer. So she's a very nice character to have in a hyper carry comp with Seal. I mean, she is an offensive debuffing support anyways. However, if you don't have this character, then you naturally would just want to bring quantum characters to enemies that are just weak to quantum. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. So this is a variant of the mono quantum team. It isn't fully mono quantum, however, but you do have a 50% chance of putting that weakness on the enemy. And considering that this team will be a lot more generous with skill points and having QQ in the same party, especially if you don't have Eidolons for QQ, then you're okay having Bronya in here and Silverwolf maybe taking 2 turns to go ahead and put that quantum weakness on the enemy. Bronya is going to be your best bet because she generally increases the damage massively for single target damage dealers. It's very important, or any damage dealer in the game that functions like a hyper carry. Then Fu Xuan, of course, being the defensive option. She does a lot more than just be a defensive option. I don't want this to be bare bones basic, but she gives crit rate, which is very nice for any damage dealer, right? It makes it more consistent with your crits. Take advantage of having higher crit damages. And as you all know, crit stats are very hard to obtain in the first place. So having 12% means you have 4 free rolls of crit rate on your character. That's very nice. And then being a character that self-sustains the team is very, very good too. While on top of that, being a character that may have decent damage, so you can take advantage of all the buffs that Bronya provides, crit damage buff. You can also take advantage of the debuffs Silverwolf puts on the enemy, such as decreased defense and decreased resistance, and have a Fu Xuan that actually deals a pretty decent amount of damage. Dude, so that's personally the team I'm going to be using with Fu Xuan. I just can't use QQ right now because I don't have Eidolons for the character. And unfortunately, we won't be getting any character in the near future, as far as I know, that may be able to provide skill points to the team. Once we do get a character like that, then you have a very nice character to use in the team comp with QQ, and maybe that character might end up being Quantum as well. So that is Fu Xuan's best team by far, Mono Quantum. But just like Jeopard and Luocha, you can use Fu Xuan anywhere you want to use her. She's a very universal defensive option. In a comp like this, Fu Xuan works really well because she is a defensive option that has buffs for a character like Asta, who you may build as a damage dealer, and a character like Serval, who you probably will build as a damage dealer with crit rate and crit damage. And maybe you have Kritka, who needs a little more crit rate in order to take advantage of having higher crit damages. Of course, I don't recommend Kritka, but if you can't really contain yourself, then go for it. It's honestly probably really fun. And Fu Xuan on top of that doesn't really matter if a character like Asta gets CC'd. I mean, because Asta has higher taunt values as an Harmony character, and Asta does provide speed and attack to the whole team, but the speed and attack that Asta provides to the whole team is actually buffs that can't go off the characters because Asta, even if she is CC'd, can still keep the buffs team-wide. It's very good. Pretend my serval is Jing, and you have a character like Fu Xuan that can work really well with a character like Jing. Like I said before, the buffs Fu Xuan provides to the team is very, very valuable. And being a defensive option, whereas two characters like Ting Yun and Asta, you really don't care whether or not they get CC'd, is going to be very nice to have with the character. And I'm sure Fu Xuan does have ways of being able to stop allies from being CC'd perhaps, which works into the favor of having her in the team composition anyways. So what I'm trying to say is, even if you don't have characters like Silverwolf and Seal, you can still utilize a character like Fu Xuan as a solo sustained defensive option character in your team compositions. So she is a character that has a lot of pull value outside of Mono Quantum. If we're talking about light cone options, Londo's Choice is pretty good on the character if you have her with other characters that may have higher taunt values, allowing her to take most of the taunt value away from those characters or be more likely to hit by the enemy, and then have reduced damage taken, which is very good for a character that mitigates tons of damage with her overall kit. We Are Wildfire is a very nice option to have on Fu Xuan as well, because it reduces the damage taken by all allies for 5 turns, which if you're doing hard contents like Memories of Chaos, you probably will finish your battle in 5 turns if you're using her with your damage-based carries like Seal, because that character naturally clears pretty fast. If you couple that with this being good in AoE situations, because this is damage your whole team can reduce, meaning it works better in AoE situations, you have a pretty solid light cone to have on Fu Xuan. And then the second half of the light cone is very good for PvE-based content. I just say that again, content like Simulated Universe, where you're going to be entering battles over and over again. 5-star Herda Shop light cone is very valuable on the character. The only downside I see to this light cone, I mean, there really isn't any downsides at all, because the stat increase for effect resistance is very good for preservation, abundance, and Harmony characters like Bronya, for instance, that have cleanses. So having that effect resistance makes it to where those characters don't get stunned as much, which is very good. So I'm not even going to front. This is a very strong light cone of Fu Xuan. The only issue I have with it is that the other light cones they're adding, like the Nihility one, for instance, is actually pretty darn good. So it's going to be a lot more competitive when it comes to choosing light cones from Herda Shop. So if you have options already for Fu Xuan, you may not need to go the extra step of getting a light cone like this if you already have something for the character. And I'm sure just like Luocha's 5-star light cone, Fu Xuan's 5-star light cone will enhance the performance of the character and probably provide some buff for the team, just making it more enticing for players to roll for. So it's going to be her best install option for sure, but it's not going to be needed, just like in the case of Luocha. Now, when it comes to Denheng imbibitor lunae, he is a character that for many players has been a very nice damage dealer to have on their account. I'm not even going to front, he is currently the best damage dealer in the game. His raw damage numbers outclass Seal by a mile. It's not even close. And this character just has naturally all the allies Seal wants to use in her composition, which means he takes advantage of all of the offensive buffing supports and offensive debuffing supports as well. However, with that great power comes great responsibility. You have to know how to play the character. And on top of that, he is a little less comfortable for many players just because he is a character that is not very auto-friendly. And as you all know, most of the time you'll probably be playing in Honkai Star Rail in auto mode. But that's only if you care about the harder contents in the game where you actually need to manually play the game. If you have a team comp that isn't very, let's say, auto-friendly, because the auto system in this game isn't that good. The truth is, Denheng imbibitor lunae is so strong, his kit is so overloaded, that his light cone choices really don't matter. Whatever you have on your account, just use that. that's going to increase his damage by whatever the light cone provides, a option like this is definitely best in slot because the energy regeneration you give the character is very good. That allows him to get his ult more often, which means he'll have more stacks for his enhanced basic attack, so you don't have to drain as many skill points. And then the attack increase is very good, and crit rate makes it to where your crit damages, your high crit damage on the character will be much more valuable because he is a character that works in a hyper carry team complex seal, so you can take advantage of all of the crit damage you might get from a character like Bronyer, for instance. But as I said before, his kit is so overloaded, you really don't have to worry about whatever light cone option you have on your account. Just use what you have. However, unlike Seal, Denheng imbibitor lunae is a character with much lower base speed. He also a character that you don't want any speed on at all, as little as possible, because you want your supported characters to take more than one turn before they actually buff you up. A character like Bronyer, you want to take like 2 turns before she uses her elemental skill on you to push up your action forward, just so you have more skill points to work with on your Denheng imbibitor lunae. And so you can see why that might not be comfortable for many players, because he changes the way you play the game. You need to have your supports be much faster than Denheng imbibitor lunae, which works out because he does have a lower base speed, but you also have to take into consideration that is not very auto-friendly because of that fact. If you put it into auto and you have a character like Bronyer probably will use her elemental skill on Denheng before even using a basic attack first, so she doesn't take advantage of pushing up her own action forward and getting in that extra skill point, which makes it a very annoying comp to use at times if you are looking to just play the game or have the game play for you. There you go. However, unlike Seal, he is able to utilize a character like Jeopard really well because of the low base speed he has, and the fact that he doesn't increase his own speed means you can have a fast Jeopard who can have 100% uptime on the shield he provides to Denheng, while being a character that naturally increases his own aggro value, taunt value, meaning he takes more hits from the enemy and takes away that aggro from your other allies. So he is going to be the best defensive option you can have alongside your Denheng imbibitor lunae. On top of that, Denheng imbibitor lunae has one of the most free-to-play friendly teams. Supporters like Pela you all have access to. Character like Ting Yun you have access to as well, because these are both 4-star characters, meaning they're much more easily obtainable. And then Jeopard is a character that you can get from the newbie banner, or you can get from the standard banner, or you may even lose your 50-50 to this character at some point, which I forbid, of course. I hope you win all of your 50-50s. I sure did. If you don't have a character like Ting Yun, then you can use Asta, because Asta does provide speed to the whole team, which is very good. That means that even though Denheng will have his own speed increase, the team will also have their speed higher, so it's almost as if the speed increase didn't matter in the first place. But just like Seal, if you're looking for a character that can dish out tons of damage, utilizing some of the best supporters and one of the supporters in the game that no other character can really use aside from Denheng imbibitor lunae, then you have a character that does that really well. Denheng imbibitor lunae and Fu Xuan are 2 amazing characters. They are also both very free-to-play friendly, so it's hard to determine which character is better for you. The honest truth is, if you have no imaginary characters on your account, and you have quantum characters, I probably would go in the path of Fu Xuan, just because she is a character that works in the favor of having mono quantum anyways, because that's going to be her best team, but she is still a very nice universal defensive option. If you happen to get her and got lucky pulling her, then you probably won't regret using. And a character like Denheng imbibitor lunae is very good if you don't have any damage dealers on your account. Maybe you joined after Seal's banner went live, maybe you don't have a character like Jing, then Denheng will be the best option for you because he is the best damage dealer. However, do keep in mind, and I will say this once more, if you are not a fan of manually playing the game and you just want to play the game auto like me, then you probably should not roll for Denheng imbibitor lunae because he is a character that isn't very auto friendly. And I would say that for most free-to-play players in the game. And lastly, Quantum and Imaginary are the 2 best elements in the game because they have the strongest weakness break effects in the game. So whether or not you get one or the other doesn't matter. You just need to have characters that complement the characters of those elements. So a character like Welt working really well with a character like Denheng, Luocha also working well with Denheng, a character like Yukong working really extremely well with Denheng, and then, quantum characters like Fu Xuan working really well with Seal, and Silverwolf working even better with a character like Seal. That's the video here. We probably will do this one more time at the end of Denheng's banner, just to freshen up the mind of everyone, and in case we find any new information surrounding Dan Heng, which we probably will. Thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day. Oh my god, my voice hurts. Oh, I should not have made this video this long.